a Bertha Fellow this year. It's a challenge that brings together activists and journalists from around the world.
Our role with the Bertha Challenge Fellowship Program is to help these activist fellows use creative techniques to amplify what they're fighting for. Jared is a Bertha Fellow, and he's part of an organization called Reclaim the City that's focused on securing affordable housing for people who need it. We worked with them remotely for a while and then joined them in Cape Town. Among other things, they're pressuring the Cape Town city government to provide affordable housing in a way that's guaranteed by the South African Constitution.
We have great policies and great laws that are actually giving government the space to integrate our city and our country. Political will is what has been lacking for decades in South Africa. We must teach this government a lesson that they'll never forget. And so we've occupied the old Woodstock Hospital.
We went there, it was this abandoned hospital, and it's this humongous building that, is clearly being kept empty as speculation. Reclaim the City, they were like, no, actually, a city is not for speculating. A city is for living. And here's a bunch of space in this humongous hospital. And there's thousands of homeless people. So what do? You take it over. They got together and turned this huge abandoned space into a bunch of housing.
People have created communal spaces, meeting spaces, and have turned the hospital wards into homes.
We are not just looking at an occupation as just a place to live. It's necessary to take a different approach, an approach which speaks to building a community.
The occupiers wanted to demonstrate to the people of Cape Town why the occupation was on the right side of history and the city government was on the wrong side.
So the concept was to link the current policies of the city of Cape Town with the policies of the National Party under apartheid, and particularly policies that related to spatial segregation in the city.
To physically contain non-whites in their own areas, thousands of natives have been moved by force to government-built housing.
This seems to be following the same trend that the apartheid government used, displacing black and colored people on the outskirts of the city, where people do not have access to basic services like your water and sanitation.
So the housing policies of the DA clearly stood out as reminiscent of relics from the past, that they were still stuck in the old approach of the apartheid style of shaping housing policies.
We knew about the anti-apartheid singing protests from movies and stuff. But to see it was a whole other thing. The week before we arrived, this guy named Uncle Kenny, who lived near the Woodstock occupation, he'd been there for 4 decades, and he was being evicted. So the occupiers went to the official city auction of Uncle Kenny's home and shut it down. They invaded the proceedings, they sang, and just totally disrupted it and stopped it from happening.
That very night, people took shifts and held vigil outside his house, with a fire, and then in the morning, broke down the padlocks and put him back inside his house.
That blew our minds. This sort of thing hadn't existed in the US since the 1930s. And here they were doing it the week before we got there. So we were impressed.
So we had a couple of ideas. The Yes Men had some ideas.
We started brainstorming and we came up with some typical Yes Men ideas.
Let's mock the DA, make an announcement and tweet the Yes Men style. And everyone was like, yeah, that's great, but
Then they came back to us with a totally different idea.
Scary. National Party members back from the dead. having a zombie march.
I'd never been in a zombie march, let alone helped organize one. I just didn't get it.
The zombie march made sense to everyone. It was like an aha moment.
To say it seems like these patterns from the past are still alive with us today, even though we thought they were dead and buried. So that was the concept of the zombie. The zombie is something that is supposed to be dead, but is still living in the world and causing problems.
People could see straight away right there how the city's behavior was so similar to their experiences and their parents' and grandparents' experiences, you know, of having been taken out their homes.
It finally clicked. Why zombies? Because they should be dead. They should be in the grave, and they're not. And it's annoying that they're not in the grave, zombies. And the same is most definitely true for apartheid ideas.
And we knew it was going to be an idea that either would like totally work or would totally not work.
There was a week of zombies everywhere.
We spent the week practicing being the undead.
Start with, I'm tired of really these marches and all these things that we're doing. Okay, they're gonna march. Once they get tired, they will leave. And it doesn't really have much impact anymore now. So with what we're doing now, with the zombies and all, I think it is a great idea.
Yeah, because we'll need these days to print these posters.
There was like this whole week of programming for the entire community of occupiers.
Zombie pop-up, so whoever wants to go along and have some fun, 10 a.m. Where are we going to go? This is not something to make light of. This is, a lot of people got really traumatic experiences and memories, you know.
Apartheid gave us the Group Areas Act. Putanua also. How old Putanua?
I'm 72.
Putanua is 72. These are my elders.
We got to bring together some of the older people in the occupation who'd gone through that time, and the younger people, and sit down and talk about it and share those experiences and those memories and say how it was the same and how it was different and what's changed and what hasn't changed.
Because we know why we occupy City Hall House, because many of us have been evicted or forcefully removed.
So we separated everybody, and up to today I still feel it's some form of separation amongst people. It's going to take a long time for us to heal.
Even though I was small at the time, but even up to today, I'm still carrying, scars from all these removals.
Rest in peace to forced removals.
On the Friday before, we decided to have a zombie dance-off, and we invited all the different teams to go head-to-head.
It was like occupation against occupation, and they would do these like crazy dances that were, combat, but they were also friendly.
Now, I would like to read a word from our lovely mayor, Dane Plato.
So that you can get up. Yeah.
And then
Now you can rest.
I can hold on here.
Then you can
Yeah,
sit
hold
up.
on there. Yeah. Let that slide.
What's in your head? In your head. Zombie, zombie, zombie.
And this is where it started getting a little tense.
We are almost home!
We had sent out a press advisory telling the media that we were about to do this. What that meant was that the authorities and the police knew that there was this zombie takeover of City Hall. And it seemed entirely possible they might want to control it in some way. Maybe not even let us into the plaza. But when we got there, the police were nowhere to be found. They had shuttered the front gate, but that's it. And so we just walked right up the steps and stood right there under the offices of Mayor Dan Plato.
The mayor of Cape Town, Dan Plato, used to be a member of the National Party.
One of the strange things about our city is that 25 years after the end of apartheid, we have people in power, democratically elected, who were in fact members of the National Party who were in power during apartheid.
We are back to thank our own native son of the soil, Dan Plato! Oh, okay, quiet. Our very own native son of the soil, Mayor Dan Plato's spokesperson! I will email all of you very soon.
It got onto, it got onto the front page of the local papers, all of them. It got a significant amount of press.
We want to be part of a democratic space that determines the future of the working class, that determines the future of the poor, and why it is significant for the poor who service the city to be able to live within the confines of the city.
There were also a bunch of things that didn't work. Like, we made all these fake social media accounts and they didn't get quite as much traction as we'd hoped. Also, they kept getting shut down because they were actually zombie accounts. And we sent out a fake press release on behalf of the city, which kind of backfired. It didn't get very much attention and the city got really mad, which sometimes is fine. But in this case, it wasn't necessary.
It was effective because I don't think that the mayor and the people who he's come into power with see themselves in that way. And so I think we held up this mirror to them, which I think made them feel very uncomfortable. So in one way, our message went straight home.
You can't always know the exact point of what you're doing, what the purpose of the action is. Like in this case, we thought press. We'll get a bunch of press, it'll get press for the occupation, show why the occupation is on the right side of history and the city government is on the wrong side of history. And it did that, but even more, it was about community.
To do the serious work, but in a way that allows those doing it to gain something and to come away feeling lighter and feeling more unified.
Humor was such a powerful tactic, and that when we mock and that when we laugh, it's an extraordinary way of disrupting the power and disrupting the place that they hold in people's memory.
I think that's hugely valuable because it also shifts public perspectives on what this kind of activism is about.
If we could have done it over, we would have used this motif again and again.
If we had targeted all the places where the mayor would go and dress up as zombies to remind him that his politics stands for the zombie politics of the apartheid pioneers and apartheid politicians. We could have maybe sustained it for a longer, maybe it could have gotten us more results than what we have now, but still.
We can only hope to be sustained in our tactics. We can only hope to have a good idea and see it through and drive it home. And sometimes we manage to succeed, and sometimes we have to be comfortable that we did something that was good enough. If our intention was to change the mayor's behavior, that didn't happen. Is he going to be a bit more cautious about what they choose to do and how it's going to be seen in public? Maybe.
We got phone calls, SMSs, emails from people after the event, whether it is still going on and how can they participate. So it was clear that those who were fortunate to have seen it and to participate in it were won over by the ideas that street theatre and arts and culture can be an integral part of protest.
So campaigns that are pursued long enough win. But it's not one little action in the middle of it that's going to do it. Like, this was just one little part of the picture.
Now is the time!